Oh, right. Welcome back to another fun-filled tutorial. So, we have all these different animations. I've already set these up. Now, one thing you might notice that's different is I don't have any parameters in here. And also, these aren't linked to one another. And you might be wondering, Jimmy, what is going on here? Well, quite simply, I don't like using transition states. I like calling it all directly through the script. So, to do this, we'll need a const string, because we're looking for a string type. And as what we're going to look for is this will be called Sci-Fi Scope Down. So Sci-Fi Scope Down. And now equal Sci-Fi Scope Down. So we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 animations. So I'm just going to take this, Control C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm actually going to move this off to the side. I really hate Windows sometimes. There we go. So now that I've done that, I can actually say Sci-Fi Gun Shoot. We have Sci-Fi Gun Empty. Sci-Fi Gun Reload. And all of these are actually going to be the same as these down here. It's just they all have the word scope added to them. So I'm actually going to replace all those. I'm going to say scope. So I will copy the word scope. Come on. And then all I'm going to do is just start copying the words over here and paste them on the other side inside the quotations. Alright, there we go. So what we want to do now is we actually want to create a new method. This is going to be private void change animations. And this will take in a string, and we'll just call this cur_nm. So what we want to do is we want to do a check to make sure that cur_nm. We're actually going to need another one. We're going to say private string. Actually, we'll call this one cur_nm. And we're going to change this to new nm. We're going to say if new nm does not equal... let me think about this. If we make new nm equal cur_nm, then we're going to want to just return out of here. Else, or actually I don't even need an else, is what I'll do is I'll just say cur_nm equals new nm. So now we'll set the new nm state, and then we're going to say nm dot play. I know I'm missing something. And then we're going to say cur_nm. That should work. I'm also really tired, so I might be missing something really simple. I just can't think of what it would be. But an easy way to find out is let's go ahead and come in here, and we're going to, whenever we press key code F, we're going to say change animations. And we're going to change it to the Sci-Fi Shoot. So we actually need to create a private bool. Scope out. And if we press S, scope out equals scope out. What does this mean right here? Well, what this means is the current state of the scope will then be switched to the opposite state. So if it's true, it will become false. If it's false, it will become true. That's all that means. And so right here, we actually want to say if scope out, else, change animations, Sci-Fi Gun Shoot Scope, And if the ammo is empty, then we're going to say change animations, and we'll say, let's go ahead and do this one as a scope. We'll say if scope out, else, change animations, Sci-Fi Gun, empty, scope. There we go. So now it's going to check to see if the scope is out or not. If it is, then it'll still show the scope being out. We actually need to also come in here because we're changing this setting. So when you say if scope out, so if it's true, we're going to say change animations, Sci-Fi Gun, Sci-Fi Gun, let's see, I think I have it called shoot scope. Let me just see. So the other one's just scope down. So I'm pretty sure it's just Sci-Fi Gun scope. Let's change animations, and this one will be Sci-Fi Gun scope. Sci-Fi Gun scope down. I know I have it in here. Oh, down scope. That's why I called it. Sci-Fi Gun. And this is why it is bad to just do copy and paste. So let's come up here. We have Sci-Fi scope down scope. Okay, that is why it's not working. Which that is okay. But now we have this one up here. And I'm going to go to... So it's just called Sci-Fi Gun scope. Sci-Fi Gun scope. I also need to make sure, so we have scope down, which is right there, so we'll just call this scope then. And it's actually very important that, like on this, how it's Sci-Fi scope down, and I had Sci-Fi Gun scope, it's actually very important that you get those dead on, capitalization and everything, because these strings will actually check the name of these animations. So, something to keep in mind. Alright, so this is going to be called Sci-Fi. I think that's just called scope down. So, let's go ahead and test this. And I probably should have a full animation for reload instead of just empty, and I'll explain why here in just a second. Okay, so the reason that's going on is because it's looping, so what we need to do is we actually need to come into Assets, brace yourselves. It's a mess. Normally, I clean this up a lot better. In this case, I was just being lazy, and I wanted to quickly showcase this tutorial. These off. I promise normally I would pause it, the recording that is, but OBS no longer supports that feature, so yay, you get to watch me. So we're going to double check to make sure that everything is working. Alright, so why isn't it going back to the... Well, that works, so, but you might be wondering why it's not doing the other. Okay, so I actually messed up on one of the animations, but the reason why because we actually need to do an invoke and put it back in the idle. So is what we're going to do is we're actually going to create... Oh, I'm not doing a gun reload. Okay, so let's see, R. So we're going to do the thing I said not to do, which is copy and paste. We're going to say Sci Fi reload scope. That should play the animations, but what we want to do is we actually want to invoke, and we're going to say, I don't know, reset NM. We're going to wait for 0.3F. Honestly, I don't think we need to wait that long. I think it's just actually 2.5. And we actually need a new animation state. So the reason for that, because we actually have a gun idle and a scope idle, which is right here. So we will need to do that, which I don't know why I did that like that. Because that's scope idle. It shouldn't... I don't know why I did that. I know I'm going to need to make a transition to this, but I should have empty idle in here as well. I don't think I do, so I'm actually going to put that right there. So this is going to be Sci Fi Gun scope idle. I'm just going to copy that, and we're going to take this, Control C, Control V. There we go. So is what we want to do is we have an invoke now where we are resetting the animation. So we're going to say private void reset nm. And we're going to say change animations. Put that in there. And we'll also need to specify if scope out else change animations, and we'll say Sci-Fi Gun idle. Yay. Alright, so we don't actually have one for Sci-Fi Gun idle yet. But now we do. I'm pretty sure it's called, yeah, Sci-Fi Gun idle. Awesome. So is what should happen is it should go back to the default animation state. And the advantage I have with that is now when we shoot, you'll see it shoot multiple times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is what happened there is doing what we're telling it to do. It is doing the reset. But we're not doing a check to see if the ammo is greater than 0. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to paste that under here. So this way, as long as the ammo is greater than 0, it'll actually go back to that loop. Otherwise, it'll just stay in the empty state, which is exactly what we want. Three, 4, 5. Alright, so that is looking good. Let's go ahead and reload it. Nice. Okie dokie. So that appears to be working. That actually appears to be working real well. And this is just simple blockout mesh if you're curious what it was all looking like. So next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and press S. So there's another glitch, but no biggie. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, reload. So that seems to be working. So yay. As far as other little minor oddities, so let me just shoot real quick. Okay, so like right here, I push this. If we were wanting to fix that, we'd actually have to create another animation where the scope is coming out once it's done. But I don't really feel like doing that. Well, I don't feel like doing it, but I'm going to do it anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here, and you can see all the animations I created. So we're looking for the reload. Specifically the reload. Or actually, I'm actually going to look for the empty idle. Control C. And we're going to create a new clip. And we're going to say Sci Fi Gun empty scope down. Or actually, we'll do scope up. So we're going to paste all that. And then I have the scope set to go up at 1 second. So we're going to look for 23. I would normally have these named, but I didn't feel like it. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to look for the reload with the scope, because the position of this is already where we want it. So let's come back down here to the empty scope up. Going to paste that there. So now the scope will come up no matter what. The next thing we want to do is Control C, and we're going to do create new clip, Sci Fi Gun, scope down. We're going to paste this, and we have 23, which is right here. There we go. And so now if it's already up, it'll go back down. And that's how we'd simply fix that. And of course, we'd still need to call it back up into the other thing. Control C, Control V. So this is called Sci Fi Gun scope down. This is where it goes up. So here's where we need to come in here and do a check to see if cur ammo is greater than 0. Then we'll play the regular clips. Else, we will play so if the scope is out, then we're going to say Sci Fi Gun empty. No. Oh, it's just called scope down and scope up. Okay. So this is called scope down. Sci-Fi Gun scope down. It's called scope up. Save. We'll do this quick little test. Video should still be under 20 minutes, so we will verify everything is working. Okay, so I can't really tell if it's correct or not, so we're going to look for the animations. There's one. Where are you at? There you are. Empty scope up. Okay, so this one's called empty scope up. We're actually going to copy that. We're going to come up here. Save. See, here's the part that's kind of concerning me is I have Sci-Fi Gun scope down and I have Sci-Fi Gun scope down. So that actually tells me I have 2 of these. Which means I need to figure out which one's which. Yay! So we have this one right here and this one right here. So we're actually going to click on this Sci-Fi Gun empty. Control C. And so we're going to do this. Come down here and do that. There we go. So now we should have the proper animations. We'll go back to scene so you can see it all in all of its glory. Yay. A little bit longer than 20, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it did glitch out there for a second. I don't fully know why it did. I'm sure it's something real simple, but as you can see, it's definitely... Okay, I know what's going on. So we're going to say up, and this one will be down. I think whenever I set the animations, I probably got them mixed up, and that's probably the only reason why it did that backwards. Okay, S, S, that looks good. Reload. There we go. So if you notice I press R for the reload, this is why you'd want a full animation of it going through an empty state and then a reload state. That would take me way over the time that I want to do, but you get the idea on how quickly I was able to do that. You'd basically just have to call another animation. The only difference is right here, once again, you want to check to see what the current ammo is. If it's greater than 0, you run through the full animation sequence. If it is equal to 0, or you could just do a simple else, it'll do these instead, which is what we currently have in place. But that is going to do it for this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed. I shall talk to y'all later.